I'm Santish Padiachi. I'm a final year civil engineering BTech student at the Nelson Mandela University. This presentation forms part of an evaluation report carried out on the existing five-ways intersection at Spa on Cape Road. This presentation focuses primarily on the facilities which are currently provided for both non-motorized and motorized modes of transport. In addition, the proposed facilities for the intersection will be discussed in this presentation. Before we start, I'd like to start off with a brief background to the project. Previously designed roads in South Africa had the common goal of providing facilities for private transportation users, while non-motorized transport and public transportation users has been neglected. Roads were previously designed for motorists first, followed by pedestrians, and lastly cyclists and other non-motorized transport. It is estimated that approximately 80% of South Africans are dependent on public transportation systems. This is quite a large percentage of the total population. Furthermore, of these public transportation users, those from a low income background generally spend 30% or more on public transportation. This warrants the need to look at other alternatives which are more cost effective and at the same time more environmentally friendly. The transportation planning sector requires a complete paradigm shift in the way roads are designed and the hierarchy of users on the road. This paradigm shift can be achieved by rearranging the road user hierarchy to designing firstly for pedestrians, followed by cyclists, and lastly for motorists. Some of you might be asking the question, what is non-motorized transport? Well, non-motorized transport typically includes all human and/or animal-powered forms of transport. Some examples of non-motorized transport include walking, cycling, skateboarding, and donkey carts. The form of non-motorized transport which will be focused on mainly in this presentation is walking and cycling. Now, some of you might ask, why are non-motorized transport facilities important? Well, non-motorized transport facilities will facilitate integration of cities which will allow previously disadvantaged residents to access shopping centers and employment opportunities without having major burden of excessive transportation costs. This will in turn create a sustainable transportation system and in turn a sustainable city, and as a result transform the transport system which will significantly enhance previously disadvantaged communities. Through integration, sustainable development, and transformation of the transportation sector, we can effectively create livable cities for all. Looking at the status quo, there are pedestrian facilities which are provided but are limited to pedestrian crossings and narrow sidewalks. Cyclist facilities are non-existent, and cyclists who use the roadway are forced to share the roadway with motorists, causing unsafe conditions. Cyclists who wish to share the pedestrian sidewalk is stranded due to the fact that the sidewalks are too cluttered and simply too narrow. Basic motorist facilities are provided which are limited to signalized intersections, as well as basic road markings. Looking at some legislation, according to the National Land Transportation Act of 2009, the ministry is obligated to provide easy access to public transport for the community, taking passenger safety into consideration and whilst promoting the efficient use of energy resources and limit environmental impacts related to land transport. Section 36 of this Act stipulates that every municipality must develop and implement an integrated transport plan, with larger municipalities needing to provide a comprehensive integrated transport plan, which must include a transportation needs assessment, which must give due attention to non-motorized transport facilities. This is important to mention as municipal integrated transport plans are binding to everyone, including organs of state. Looking at the proposal, as we can see, We have designated bicycle lanes which are 1.8 meters wide, which are situated adjacent to sidewalks, and 2.5 meters wide across intersections to allow for cyclists crossing in opposite directions to safely pass one another. Curb extensions are provided for cyclists waiting to cross the road, which can use the area behind the raised curb extension to wait for passing traffic. Due to the fact that the area is raised, it creates an effective barrier between motorists and pedestrians or cyclists. This also acts as a choker, which facilitates reduction of speed through an intersection. We will also provide newly painted pedestrian crossings, which will be 2.5 meters wide. Drop curbs will also be provided for people in wheelchairs or those pushing a pram or trolley. Signage will be provided to avoid confusion between bicycle lanes and the normal roadway. Due to the fact that this intersection is complex, it is essential to provide channelization. This is shown in the image in front of you. To avoid confusion, clearly marked dotted lines should be used or shall be used to illustrate vehicles and how to cross the intersection for those wanting to turn into the leg. Corner refuge islands are also provided, and they are threefold in their advantages, as they provide refuge for pedestrians or cyclists. It reduces the curve radii, therefore forcing traffic to slow down while making the turn, and lastly, it forces drivers to be in direct contact with the pedestrian and bicycle or cyclist crossing when completing the turning maneuver, therefore creating a safer environment. Furthermore, the number of lanes at the intersection for motorists are reduced. Where there are an excessive amount of lanes, one lane was removed and transformed into a designated bicycle lane. Reducing the amount of lanes for motorists facilitates the reduction in speed of motorists through an intersection. In addition, vibrotactile and audible devices will be provided on the existing signalized posts to assist disabled persons to navigate through the intersection. In addition, tactile paving shall be used to guide visually impaired persons to safely navigate through the intersection. Lastly, it is proposed that speed limits be provided for approaching motorists to the intersection. The speed limit should be limited to 40 kilometers per hour. As we can see, there is a major need for the upgrading of the existing five-ways intersection, and it should be looked at in more depth. Thank you for watching, and I'm Santosh.